Hey guys, Marley and I are up in the mountains for the next couple days. We're going to be doing some camping. I'm just up here filming for a few different projects, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of give you guys a real review of the Work Tuff Gear 380 stove. Now, this is a stove that was loaned to me. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, and my good friend John over at Wingman 115 had acquired this stove. He'd used it in his hot tent, and I gotta say I was super impressed. Now, John has used this extensively. He's done a lot of testing with it. I'm gonna leave the link to his video in the description of this so you guys can check that out and kind of get a real view of it, you know, from the beginning. Now, fast forward about a year, John came up here to camp with me, and we stayed in an underground World War II bunker. And I gotta say, this thing worked really good. Definitely a fantastic, you know, addition to that bunker. The Work Tuff stove goes together really easily. One of my first times using it was in the underground World War II bunker. Marley and I were up here filming for a few different projects, and we had to use the bunker. The weather was getting pretty bad, and we were actually expecting snow that night, and so I dragged that thing in there. Really easy to set up, and it worked really well. And I was surprised because it was a fairly good sized space to heat, and the little stove, you know, definitely worked well for us. The weight is right around 18.9 pounds. The main body is stainless steel, and the front door and the side window are heat resistant glass. And I have used it, you know, a lot in that bunker. And so for this trip, I wanted to bring it and use it in my hot tent. And there's a few things that I did differently with it as opposed to how I used it in the bunker. Now, in the bunker, you know, I had it with the legs, and that brought it up off the floor, and I had a steel grate behind it as kind of a heat shield. And I found that the stack, you know, made up out of the bunker, and it had about a good 10 inches above outside. Now, when I set this up in the tent, I'm going to be using it without the legs, and I'll kind of show you guys what I mean by that when I set it up. Fully assembled, the stove is 15.7 inches wide, its depth is 17.5, and its height is 85.7 inches. The main components are the stove itself. It also comes with 4 chimney pipes, as well as the damper, a chimney lid, an ash remover, a fire grate, and a heating shelf for the side of the stove, as well as a storage bag with handle. I have used this stove very extensively. I come up in the mountains a couple days a week because I do a lot of different types of videos, and so I bring this stove with me to kind of sustain myself at night because it's been getting down into the low 20s. I think one night it got down to about 18 degrees. So it gets down really cold, and a stove like this has definitely saved my ass, you know, numerous times. Otherwise, you know, I'd be reliant on a propane, you know, buddy type heater, and this seems to work much better. You know, it heats a very large space. I like how it's, you know, fairly compact, and it does come with, you know, a carry bag. Everything fits in here, and it's very easy to set up and very easy to clean out. Now, the other thing that I really like about this stove is that these legs have a lot of thread on them. You know, let's say the bunker, the floor is not, you know, totally even, and so I'm able to adjust these legs to make sure that the stove is nice and flat and stable. Heat tray has definitely come in handy. You know, I make coffee on here, I cook, and it's nice to set it off to the side and be able to keep things warm. You open this up, This has got a very nice handle that's anodized. I haven't had any issue, with getting burned opening this. You can adjust the draw. It does have the damper here. And when I've got this started, getting this started, I leave this open. I leave this all the way open. And once I get the stove going, I can turn this down a little, and that's going to keep a lot of the heat in here. And I gotta say, this thing burns very efficiently for its size. This area is absolutely beautiful. Really nice campsite. This is our first time here. I do have to do a little bit of work around camp, but as you can see, I've got an area for a fire, which we're gonna cook on tonight. I've got a nice flat area for the hot tent, and so we're gonna set that up and just try to pick things up around camp, clean it up a little, because there have been people staying here, probably in the past month or so, and so there's a little bit of glass around here, but it really isn't too bad. I did pick this location because there's a lot of firewood that I can collect around here, which will be perfect for being able to use that stove in the tent, as well as being able to have a fire. So I'm not going to have to travel too far to collect firewood. So that's just one thing that I usually look for when I'm finding a campsite. This is the Mountain Cattle hot tent. You guys have seen this before. I set this up. They do say this is a 3-person tent, and I guess you could fit 3 people in here, but it would be really tight. There'd be no room for your gear. It essentially is a 1-person tent, especially if you're using a wood stove. It'll leave enough room for some of your gear and maybe some wood, and that's about it. So it is a very tight fit, even for 1 person, but it works really well. I've used it in a variety of situations and I've enjoyed it. And so we're going to put the Work Tuff stove in here. I'll set that up and kind of show you guys that. I went ahead and installed the stove in the hot tent. And one thing that I wanted to note was I'm using a spark arrestor. I've noticed a lot of people that use these tents, with a stove, maybe they're in an area where they don't have a lot of dry brush and they don't have an issue with forest fires like we do here. So for me, having the spark arrestor just for that reason is really important. And on top of that, if you don't have a spark arrestor, it is possible that, some sparks are going to come out, land on your tent. It will most definitely burn holes in this tent. And so that's not going to be fun, especially if it's going to be raining that night. You've got holes in your tent. And so I really like using a spark arrestor. Before this trip, I took everything, I cleaned it with soap and water, made sure that spark arrestor was totally cleaned out, because after you burn stuff like pine and a lot of stuff that you'll find out here that really isn't the best quality wood to burn, that's going to get clogged, and that's going to cause an issue with smoke coming into the stove. And I have encountered that when we were in the bunker, and so I had to pull that off, shake it out, and really try to clean it, because it does get clogged. And so it's real important to keep that clean. This is how I have the stove set up in the tent. Now I've got to flatten it out a little bit. This stove does have legs which will raise it up approximately 10 inches. And I don't want that in this tent, because by adding those legs, it's going to raise that stove up, and it's going to be, too close to this tent. And I'm afraid it would melt it, getting too hot. And so I always like to have this, as low as possible. And right in front of where the door is, I kind of dug this out a little bit, and so it's got kind of a catch. So if anything falls out, it's not going to roll back into the tent. Definitely, safe to do that. And by having it lower, it's going to, heat up more of the bottom area of this tent. So this is just about the most convenient way that I could see mounting it, because I'm anticipating, having my head back here, and it'll be easy for me to open, and I can just put some more wood in. I'll stack some wood here and it'll be in a good spot for me to be able to feed it tonight. And I got to flatten this out because it's a little at an angle right now, and I will probably be making some coffee on here and, you know, basic cooking, and so definitely want to make sure this is flat. Right now it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I got a fire pit dug. I found this log that I can use to sit on tonight, and I got the tent fully set up along with plenty of wood inside that I'd collected. So we should be able to stay pretty cozy tonight. Hey, cheers you guys. Really happy to be out here. I got the fire going. I put the grill on here, and we're gonna cook some quesadillas here in a little bit. Marley's just inside taking a nap, and I'm just enjoying my first cup of coffee of the day. I think I'm just gonna finish my coffee, let this die down, and I'll bring you guys back when we make those quesadillas. with some bacon. You want bacon? Bacon. Pretty good. I have quesadillas when I'm at home, and it's funny, for some reason, every time I have a quesadilla, I've got to watch Andy Griffith on TV. I don't know why. It's like just one of those things I've done since I was a kid. And Lindsay always laughs every time I make quesadillas because I turn on the Andy Griffith show. I don't know I don't know why I do it. Here, have some. These are so good. I've never made them before on a grill. Usually I make them at home in a pan with a little bit of oil. And I gotta say, they're, I think, better on the grill just because they're crispier. Oh my god, that's so good. This would definitely be something you could make, you know, if you got kids. Really easy to make. You know, you just get a block of cheese, cut it up, put 3 slices, and just fold it in half, and you're good to go. I think they taste much better on the grill, a lot crispier, and probably a lot healthier too, without using the cooking oil like I do at home. But you know, I got bacon here, so anything that's healthy is gotten thrown out the window. I'm gonna finish this, and I gotta set up my light kit, so we'll have some light tonight. Yeah, little baby face. So I went ahead and got the stove going. I've got the front door open, and it's warm in here, and that thing's really not even stoked up yet. I really don't even have that much wood in there. And so we definitely have enough wood to get us through the night comfortably. I have used this in the bunker, which is about 15 by 17. And so that's a really big space. And this thing heats it no problem. And so I'm gonna probably be able to keep this pretty low, you know, especially if I close the front door. It's gonna get really warm in here. And so this definitely is gonna work out good for us. Totally cool having this in here. Plenty of wood in here. I got some coffee going on the stove. It's super toasty in here. Marley is asleep. I'm loving this. Super warm in here. I've got the door closed now. You can see stoves going. I really like the glass. Gives off a real nice light. And I can even cook in here. I can make myself some coffee. I brought some stuff in to do that. I've got the vents open on top. And so I'm hoping this will work out for us. A little past my bedtime, I just got up and put a few pieces of wood in the stove, and that should last for another hour or so. We'll see you in the morning. Hey, good morning, you guys. We slept pretty good last night. It didn't get down as cold as I thought. Maybe in the low 50s, maybe 40. Didn't really have to get up much. I think I got up at maybe 3 o'clock this morning, and I had to put some more wood in that stove. And then I got up about 20 minutes ago, made some coffee, It's about 7:30 right now, and it looks to be a beautiful day. We're gonna hang out and camp for a little bit. Well guys, I really had a lot of fun, using this stove in the hot tent. It definitely worked really well for Marley and I. Kept us warm last night, and it burns very efficiently. I wasn't having to get up, every hour and feed it. I'd put a couple logs in there and it was good for, 3 or 4 hours before having to get up and put more in. So it does work very efficiently. And I think this size is really good because it works for, a larger place like we used it for, in the bunker. And you can use it, in a hot tent. In a larger hot tent, you probably could leave the legs on, but I've got the smaller one, and so it made more sense to have it down lower. And so I've really enjoyed using it. I appreciate John over at Wingman 115 channel. Like I said, I'm going to leave a link in the description so you guys can visit him and check out his look at this stove. And I'm going to leave a link, if you guys want to buy this, I'll leave a link to that. I'm not sponsored by him. I definitely believe in the product, and it's treated me really well. And so I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed coming along with us, and we'll talk to you soon.